Conversations with God, An Uncommon Dialogue. Book 1 by Neale Donald Walsch. Good morning. I'm sure if you guys want to go over this when you have your own time or whatnot, you can. The introduction to this is you are about to have an extraordinary experience. Yes, you are about to have a conversation with God. Yes, yes. I know that's not possible. You probably think or have been taught that's not possible. You probably... Oops, sorry. One can talk to God. Sorry, my dog is kind of pissing me off right now. My bad. I apologize. One can talk to God, sure, but not with God. I mean, God is going to talk back, right? At least not in the form of a regular, everyday kind of conversation. That's what I thought too. Then this book happened to me. And I mean that literally. This book was not written by me. It happened to me. And in your reading of it, it will happen to you. For we are all led to the truth for which we are ready. My life would probably be much easier if I had kept all this quiet. Yet that wasn't the reason it happened to me, and whatever inconveniences the book may cause me, such as being called a blasphemer, a fraud, hypocrite, and for not having lived these truths in the past, or perhaps worse, a holy man. It is not possible for me to stop the process now, nor do I wish to. I have my chances to step away from the whole thing, and I haven't taken them. I've decided to stick with what my instincts are telling me, rather than what much of the world will tell me about the material here. Those instincts say this book is not nonsense. The overworking of a frustrated... Sorry, trying to get that focus for you. Of a frustrated spiritual imagination. Or simply the self-justification of a man seeking vindication from a life misled. Oh, I've thought of all those things, every one of them. So I gave this material to a few people to read while it was still in manuscript form. They were moved, and they cried, and they laughed for the joy and the humor in it. And their lives, they said, changed. They were transfixed. They were empowered. Many said they were transformed. That's when I knew this book was for everyone, and that it had to be published. For it is a wonderful gift to all those who truly want answers and truly care about the questions. For all of those who have upon embarked upon quest for truth with sincerity of heart, longing of soul, and openness of mind. And that's pretty much all of us. This book addresses most of it, if not all, of the questions we have ever asked about life and love, purpose and function, people and relationships, good and evil, guilt and sin, forgiveness and redemption, the path to God and the road to hell. Everything. It directly discusses sex, power, money, children, marriage, divorce, life, work, health, and the hereafter, the before now. Everything. It explores war and peace, knowing and not knowing, giving and taking, joy and sorrow. It looks at the concrete and the abstract, the visible and the invisible, the truth and the untrue. You could say that this book is God's latest word on things, although some might have not had a little trouble with that, particularly if they think that God stopped talking 2,000 years ago, or that if God has continued communicating, it's only been with holy men, medicine women, or someone who at least has been meditating for at least for 30 years or good to 20, or at least half decent for 10, none of which categories includes me. The truth is, God talks to everybody, the good and the bad, the saint and the scoundrel, and certainly all of us in between. Take you, for instance. God has come to you many times. Have you heard the old axiom? When the student is ready, the teacher will appear. This book is our teacher. Shortly after this material began happening to me, I knew that I was talking with God, directly, personally, irrefutably, and that God was responding to my questions in direct proportion to my ability to comprehend. That is, I was being answered in ways and with language that God knew I would understand. This accounts for much of the colloquial style of the writing and the occasional references to material I'd gathered from other sources and prior experiences in my life. I know now that everything has come to me in my life has come to me from God, and now being drawn together, pulled together, in a magnificent complete response to every question I ever had. And that's, you can go ahead and pause that, read it a little later if you get a chance and really want to. This is just the introduction. And that is the author. This is a very old book of mine, and I figured I would share it with you guys because it's actually a very good story. So, cheers, everybody. Excuse me. Alrighty then. In the spring of 1992, it was around Easter as I recall, an extraordinary phenomenon occurred in my life. God began talking with you through me. Let me explain. I was very unhappy during that period, personally, professionally, and emotionally, and my life was feeling like a failure on all levels. As I'd been in the habit for years of writing my thoughts down in letters, which I usually never delivered, I picked up my trustworthy yellow legal pad and began pouring out my feelings. This time, rather than another letter to another person I imagined to be victimizing me, I thought I'd go straight to the source, straight to the greatest victimizer of them all. I decided to write a letter to God. It was a spiteful, passionate letter full of confusions, contortions, and condemnations, and a pile of angry questions. Why wasn't my life working? What would it take to get it to work? Why could I not find happiness in relationships? Was the experience of adequate money going to elude me forever? Finally, and most empathically, what had I done to deserve a life of such continuing struggle? To my surprise, as I scribbled out the last of my bitter unanswerable questions and prepared to toss my pen aside, my hand remained poised over the paper, as if held by their somewhat invisible force. Abruptly, the pen began moving on its own. I had no idea what it was about to write, but an idea seemed to be coming, so I decided to flow with it. Out came, "Do you really want all the answers to all these questions, or are you just venting?" I blinked, and then my mind came up with a reply. I wrote that down too. Both, I'm venting, sure, but if these questions have answered, I'd sure as hell like to hear them. You are sure as hell about a lot of things, but wouldn't it be nice to be sure as heaven? And I wrote, what is that supposed to mean? Before I knew it, I had began. Hold on, sorry, focus. I had begun a conversation, and I was not writing so much as taking dictation. That dictation went on for 3 years at a time, and I had no idea where it was going. The answers to the questions I was putting on paper never came to me until the question was completely written and I'd put on my own thoughts away. Often the answers came faster than I could write, and I found myself scribbling to keep up. When I became confused or lost, the feelings of the words were coming from somewhere else. I put the pen down and walked away from the dialogue until I again felt inspired. Sorry, that's the only word which truly fits. To return to the legal yellow pad and start transcribing again. These conversations are still going on as I write this, and much of it is found on the pages which follow. Pages which contain an astounding dialogue which at first I disbelieved, then assumed to be I'm sorry. These conversations, okay, which contain astounding dialogue, which at first I disbelieved, then assumed to be of personal value, but which I now understand was meant for more than just me. It was meant for you and everyone else who has come to this material. For my questions are your questions. I want to get into this dialogue as soon as you can, because what's really important here is not. Sorry, I don't know why it keeps not focusing. Alright, so let's enter the dialogue with a question I had been asking for a very long time. How does God talk, and to whom? When I asked this question, here's the answer I received. I talk to everyone all the time. The question is not to whom do I talk, but who listens. Intrigued, I ask God to explain this on the subject. Expand on this subject. Here's what God said. First, let's exchange the word talk with the word communicate. It is a much better word, a much fuller, more accurate one. When we try to speak to each other, me to you, you to me, we are immediately constricted by the unbelievable limitations of words. For this reason, I do not communicate by words alone. In fact, rarely do I do so. My most common form of communication is through feeling. Feeling is the language of the soul. If you want to know what's true for you about something, look to how you're feeling about it. Feelings are sometimes difficult to discover, and often even more difficult to acknowledge. Yet hidden in your deepest feelings is your highest truth. The trick is to get to those feelings. I will show you how, again if you wish. I told God that I did wish, but that right now I wished even more for a complete and full answer to my first question. Here's what God said. I also communicate with thought. Thought and feeling are not the same, although they can occur at the same time. Communicating with thought, there we go, sorry. Communicating with thought, I often use images and pictures. For this reason, thoughts are more effective than mere words as tools of communication. In addition to feelings and thoughts, I also use the vehicle of experience as a grand communicator. And finally, when feelings and thoughts and experience all fail, I use words. Words are really the least effective communicator. They are most open to misinterpretation, most often misunderstood. And why is it that? It is because of what words are. Words are merely utterances, noise that stand for feelings, thoughts, and experience. Those are symbols, signs, insignias. They are not truth. They are not the real thing. Words may help you understand something. Experience allows you to know. Yet there are some things you cannot experience. So I have given you other tools of knowing, and these are called feelings, and so too thoughts. Now, the supreme irony here is that you have all placed so much importance on the Word of God, and so little on the experience. In fact, you place so little value on the experience that when you experience that value on experience, that when you experience of God differs from what you experience from God differs from what you've heard of God, you automatically discard the experience and own the word, when it should be just the other way around. Your experience and your feelings about the thing represent what the factually and intuitively know about that thing. Words can only seek to symbolize what you know, and what can often sorry, I lost my spot again. Your experience and your feelings about a thing represent what you factually and intuitively know about a thing. Words can only seek to symbolize what you know, and can often confuse what you know. These, then, are the tools with which I communicate, yet they are not the methods, for not all feelings, not all thoughts, not all experience, and not all words are from me. Many words have been uttered by others in my name. Many thoughts and many feelings have been sponsored by causes not of my direct creation. Many experiences result from these. The challenge is one of discernment. The difficulty is knowing the difference between messages from God and data from other sources. Discrimination is a simple matter with the application of a basic rule. Mine is always your highest thought and your clearest word, your grandest feeling. Anything less is from another source. Oh, come on. Now the task of differential dif- differentiation, becomes easy. Come on, focus for me, camera. Technical difficulties. For it should not be difficult, even for the beginning student, to identify the highest, the clearest, and the grandest. Yet I will give you these guidelines. The highest thought Alrighty, sorry. The highest thought is always the thought that which contains joy. The clearest words are those words which contain truth. The grandest feeling is that feeling which you call love. Joy, truth, love. These three are interchangeable, and one always leads to the other. It matters not in which order they are placed. Having with these guidelines determined which messages are mine and which have come from another source, the only question remaining is whether my messages will be heeded. Most of my messages are not, some because they seem too good to be true, others because they seem too difficult to follow, many because they are simply misunderstood, most because they are not received. My most powerful messenger is experience, and even you ignore this. Even this you ignore. Man, camera, I tell you what, sorry guys. Especially this you ignore. Your uh, your world would not be in its present condition were you to have simply listened to your experience. The result of your not listening to your experience is that you keep reliving it over and over again. For my purpose will not be thwarted, nor will be ignored. You will get the message. Sooner or later, I will not force you to. However, I will never coerce you, for I have given you a free will, the power to do as you choose, and I will never take that away from you, ever. And so I will continue sending you the same message over and over again throughout the millennial. millennia, and to whatever corner of the universe you once occupy, or you occupy. Endlessly will I send you my messages until you have received them and held them close, calling them your own. My messages will come in a hundred in a hundred forms and at 1,000 moments across a million years. You cannot miss them if you truly listen. You cannot ignore them once you truly heard. Thus will our communication begin in earnest. For the past you have only talked to me, praying to me, interceding with me, beseeching me. Yet now can I talk back to you, even as I am doing here? How can I know this communication is from God? How do I know this is not my own imagination? What would be the difference? Do you not see that I could just as easily walk through your imagination as anything else? I will bring you the exact right thoughts, words, or feelings at any given moment, suited precisely to the purpose at hand, using one device or several. You will know these words are for me because of you, in your own accord, have never spoken so clearly. On these questions, you would not be asking them. To whom does God communicate? Are there special people? Are there special times? All these people are special, and all these moments are golden. There is no person, there is no time, one more special than another. Many people choose to believe that God communicates in special ways, and only with special people. This removes the mass of people from responsibility for hearing my message, much less receiving it, which is another matter, and allows them to take someone else's word for everything. You don't have to listen to me. You've already decided that others have heard from me on every subject, and you have to listen and have them to listen to. By listening to what other people think they have heard me say, you don't have to think at all. This is the biggest reason for most people turning from my message on a personal level. If you acknowledge that you are receiving messages directly, then you are responsible for interpreting them. It is far safer and much easier to accept. Sorry, I'm trying to get this clear. To accept the interpretation of others, even others who have lived 2,000 years ago, then seek to interpret the message you may have very well be receiving in this moment, now. Yet I invite you to a new form of communication with God, a two-way communication. In truth, it is you who have invited me, for I come to you in this form right now. Yet I invite you to a new. Oh, I just read that. I'm sorry. In this form right now, in answer to your call. Why do some people, take Christ for example, seem to hear more of your communication than others? Because some people are willing to actually listen. They are willing to hear, and they are willing to remain open to communication, even when it seems scary or crazy or downright wrong. We should listen to God even when what's being said seems wrong, especially when it seems wrong. If you think or you are right about everything, who needs to talk with God? Go ahead and act on all that you know, but notice that you've all been doing that since time began, and look at what shape the world is in. trying to get it here to where you can see. Good morning, everybody. Thank you for joining. Much love. Especially when it seems wrong. If you think, okay, go ahead and act on all that you know. But notice that you've all been doing that since time began. And look at what shape the world is in. Clearly, you've missed something. Obviously, there is something you don't understand. That which you do understand must seem right to you. Because right is a term you use to designate something with which you agree. What you've missed, therefore, appear at first to be wrong. The only way to move forward on this is to ask yourself, what would happen if everything I thought was wrong was actually right? Every great scientist knows about this. When what a scientist does is not working, a scientist sets aside all of the assumptions and starts over. All great discoveries have been made from a willingness and ability to not be right, and that's what's needed here. You cannot know God until you've stopped telling yourself that you already know God. You cannot hear God until you stop thinking that you've already heard God. I cannot tell you my truth until you stop telling me yours. But my truth about God comes from you. Who said so? Others. What others? Leaders, ministers, rabbis, priests, books, the Bible, for heaven's sake. Those are not authoritative sources. They aren't? No. Then what is? Listen to your feelings. Listen to your highest thoughts. Listen to your experience. Whenever any one of those differ from what you are being told by your teachers or read in your books, forget the words. Words are the least reliable purveyor of truth. There is so much I want to say to you, so much I want to ask. I don't know where to begin. For instance, why is it you do not reveal yourself? Is there really a God? And you are it. Why do you not reveal yourself in a way we can all understand? I have done so. Over and over. I am doing so again. I am doing so again right now. No, I mean by a method of revelation that is incontrovertible, that cannot be denied, such as appearing right now before my eyes. I am doing so right now. Where? Everywhere you look. No, I mean as incontrovertible as an incontrovertible way. Sorry for mispronunciation. In a way no man could deny. What would that be? In what form or shape would you have me appear? In the form or shape that you actually have. That would be impossible, for I have no form or shape, you understand? I could adopt a form or shape that you could understand, but then everyone would assume that what they have seen is the one and only form and shape of God, rather than the form and shape of God, one of many. People believe I am what they see me as, rather than not what they do not see. I am the great unseen, not what I am, not what I cause myself to be in any particular moment. In a sense, I am what I am not. It is from the am-notness, that I come to it, and I always return. Yet, Come on. Okay. Yet when I come into one particular form or another, a form in which I think people can understand me, people assign me that form forevermore. And should I come in any other form? And any other people, the first say, I did not appear to the second because I did not look to the second as I did to the first, nor say the same things. So how could it have been me? You see, then it matters not in what form or in what manner I reveal myself. Whatever manner I choose and whatever form I take, none will be incontrovertible. But if you did see something that would evidence the truth of who you are beyond doubt or question, there are still those who would say it is all the devil, or simply someone's imagination, or any cause other than me. If I revealed myself as God Almighty, King of heaven and earth, and moved mountains to prove it, there are those that would say it must have been Satan, as such it is as it should be. Focus, come on. For God does not reveal God's self to God's self from or through outward observation, but through inward experience. And when inward experience has revealed God's self, outward observation is not necessary. And if outward observation is necessary, inward experience is not possible. If then revelation is requested, it cannot be had, for the act of asking is the statement that it is not there, that nothing of God is now being revealed. Such a statement produces the experience, for your thought about something is creative, and your word is productive, and your thought and your word together are magnificently effective in giving birth to your reality. Therefore, shall you experience that God is not now revealed? For if God were, you would not ask God to be. Does that mean I cannot ask for anything I want? Are you saying that praying for something actually pushes it away from me? Sorry guys, I'm just reading right now. 1 second. Alright. That is a question which has been asked through the ages and has been answered whenever it has been asked. Yet you have not heard the answer or will not believe it. The question is answered again in today's terms and today's language thusly. You will not have that for which you ask, nor can you have anything you want. This is because your very request is a statement of lack. You're saying you want a thing only works to produce a precise experience, wanting in your reality. The correct prayer is therefore never a prayer of supplication, but a prayer of gratitude. When you thank God in advance for which you choose to experience in reality, you in effect acknowledge that it is there. In effect, thankfulness is thus the most powerful statement to God, an affirmation that even before you ask, I have answered. Therefore, never supplicate, appreciate. Never supplicate, appreciate. I'm going to start saying that a lot. Yeah. But what if I am grateful to God in advance for something and it never shows up? That could lead to disillusionment and bitterness. Gratitude cannot be used as a tool with which to manipulate God, a device with which to fool the universe. You cannot lie to yourself. Your mind knows the truth of your thoughts. If you are saying thank you, God, for such and such, all while being very clear that it isn't there. And what you know is what appears in your reality. Man, how long is this first chapter I ever got? I think it's really long. I'm gonna probably read to the end of this, we'll say till the end of this over here, and then I'm gonna quit it. But, focus, Chimali. Something I know is not there. Faith. If you have but the faith of a mustard seed, you shall move mountains. You can come to know it is there because I said it is there, because I said that. Even before you ask, I shall have answered, because I said, and have you said to you in every conceivable way, through every teacher you can name, that whatsoever you shall choose, choosing it in my name, so it shall be. Yet so many people say that their prayers have gone unanswered. No prayer, and a prayer is nothing more than a fervent statement of what is so, goes unanswered. Every prayer, even thought, every statement, every feeling is creative to the degree that it is fervently held as truth, to the degree that it will be made manifest in your experience. What it is said that a prayer has not been answered, what has in actuality happened is the most fervently held thought, word, or feeling has become operative. Yet, what you must know, and here is the secret, is that it is always thought behind the thought, what might be called the sponsoring thought, that is the controlling thought. If therefore you beg and supplicate, there seems a much smaller chance that you will experience what you think you are choosing, because the sponsoring thought behind every supplication is that you do not have now what you wish. The sponsoring thought becomes your reality. The only sponsoring thought that which could override this thought is the thought held in faith that God will grant whatever is asked without fail. Some people have such faith, but very few. The process of prayer becomes much easier when... Okay, you going to Zoom or no? Rather than having to believe that God will always say yes to every request, no one understands intuitively. Hold on, I'm sorry. I'm trying to get it to where you guys can see it too. Alright. Then the prayer is... Oh, come on. Is a prayer of thanksgiving. It is not a request at all. but a statement of gratitude for what is so. So, we're going to go ahead and end it right there because we've already been at this for about 45 minutes. This book is called Conversations with God. I've read it about 3 times. It's a very good book. I'm not a religious person, and it's really helped me spiritually and everything else. Actually, a really good book. I have all 3 parts of the book. If you guys are interested, I was figuring I was gonna book about, 45 minutes every time I get into it or whatnot around that. And so, yes, I hope that if you guys are interested, you'll join me and even push play on the playback at this. If not, you guys go ahead and still support, be your awesome self. So, on that note, just wanted to say thank you. Cheers, everybody. Much love. I know you get to kick it in Mama Nature's bedroom, huh? Nice. Some awesome silk sheets. So, much love, everybody. I do appreciate you guys being here. I imagine it could, and I hope it helps some of you. So, much love, everyone. You guys have an awesome day, and I will try to see you later. If nobody's told you guys lately, you're freaking awesome, and you're doing a great job. Make sure to be a little bit of light so nobody's left in the dark. I will catch you later. Much love.